I had just taken control of the Shadow organization. The cold metal touch from the power transfer ceremony still lingered on my fingertips. For over 10 years, I had climbed through blades and schemes, stepping over countless enemies' corpses to reach the leader's position. The Valenti's family was my deep-rooted backing. Money, intelligence, armed forces. If I asked, everything was available. I thought the rest of my path would be written by my own hand. Then a sharp, cold mechanical voice slammed into my head without warning. Fate redemption system bound successfully. Host Reinhardt. Successfully entered a female tragedy novel world. My brows tightened instantly. My assassin instincts kicked in at full alert. I tried to focus and scan for abnormalities in my brain. But the voice kept reporting on its own. Original plot of this world: the 6 daughters of the Hawthorne family, Viola, Seraphina, Isolde, Leona, Melody, Cassandra, all have rough love lives and bitter fates. Host's mission: endure, give in, repair relationships, win back the 6 Hawthorne childhood friends, tolerate the orphan male lead Lauren's situation, and rewrite the female lead's tragic endings. Completion rewards: small physical boosts and reputation points. Refusal will trigger ongoing mental punishment. A mild ache spread from my temples, like fine needles pricking my nerves repeatedly. The 6 Hawthorne girls grew up with me. In our youth, I treated them sincerely. The Valenti's family had tilted resources toward the Hawthornes many times, helping them get through several financial crises. I never owed them anything. As for Loren, an orphan taken in by the Hawthorne family, he relied on the 6 girls' pity and handouts. His words were gentle and weak, but his eyes were full of calculation. Win them back? I let out a low laugh, absurdity rising in my chest. Why? Host, please face reality. You are in a novel world. The plot cannot be defied. The 6 Hawthorne women are the core heroines. Loren is the destined male lead. Put down your pride, accept their choices, and take the initiative to make peace. The system kept sending orders. Task entries surfaced in my mind one after another. Urgent task: send a greeting message. Acknowledge the 6 ladies' hard work accompanying Loren. Reward: physical recovery potion ×1. Refusal penalty: mental shock. I recalled our past moments. Those warm feelings were real. In our youth, we attended banquets together, talked late into the night, and they shared their thoughts with me. Those days did carry warmth. But warmth is warmth. It does not mean I would accept limitless compromise. Viola used to pick cufflinks for me. Seraphina remembered my dietary restrictions. Isolde listened to my analysis when problems came up. Leona was lively and always chattered around me. Melody was thoughtful. Cassandra was calm and composed. I once truly believed this bond would last. But the script the system gave me required me to trample my dignity. No matter how they favored outsiders, no matter how they hurt me, I had to bow down, give in, and make way for all of them. What if I don't comply? I asked the system internally. Ongoing mental punishment until the host obeys, forcibly pushing the plot forward. The ache in my temples suddenly intensified. Dizziness hit me. I am a top-tier assassin. I have endured torture and agonizing pain. This level of torment could not break my will. I sat in the leather chair in my study. My fingers rested on the communication terminal on the desk. My deputy in the Shadow organization sent a message. All branches had confirmed their loyalty. The long-prepared Ascension celebration, my birthday banquet, had all procedures finalized. It was set to officially begin in a few days. According to our agreement, the 6 Hawthorne ladies would be the most important guests, fully assisting with the banquet's many details. I had even reserved the best VIP seats for them. The system kept urging me nonstop, looping the task prompts over and over, trying to brainwash me into accepting being betrayed and still forgiving graciously. Host, do not breed resentment. The 6 female leads are just soft-hearted and kind. They sympathize with the pitiful Loren. Please understand them. Do not develop resistance. I closed my eyes and suppressed the noisy mechanical voice in my head. I am Reinhardt. Since birth, I have been used to being in control. Whether it was internal power struggles in the Valenti's family or the brutal killing competitions in the Shadow organization, I only ever settled scores with enemies. I never bowed to please others. Even if this is a novel world, even if a parasitic system in my mind wants to manipulate my fate, it does not matter. Warmth can be kept. But betrayal must never be tolerated. I opened my private communications. Instead of sending the groveling message the system demanded to the 6 Hawthorne women, I pulled up the initial intelligence reports from my department. I wanted to see exactly how this upcoming drama would unfold. The intelligence reports popped up on my terminal screen one after another, shattering the last bit of youthful warmth in my heart. My birthday banquet was only 3 days away. Viola, Serafina, Isolde, Leona, Melody, and Cassandra, the 6 Hawthorne daughters, had already booked a private jet and left for a southern island. They had abandoned the banquet they promised to help prepare. They abandoned me. Their entire reason for the trip was to comfort Loren, who had lost his job and was emotionally broken. The terminal also captured screenshots from their social media accounts. 6 updates in a row. Blue sea, white sand, champagne, fresh fruit. Loren stood in the middle of the 6 women, head down, playing the part of a wronged soul. Every caption talked about care and companionship. I had been placed in a blocked group in their account settings. If not for my intelligence network, I would have stayed in the dark until the banquet started. My fingers slid across the cold screen. Scenes from our youth surfaced unbidden. When I was lightly injured, Viola would kneel down to treat my wounds, her touch so gentle she seemed afraid of hurting me. Serafina remembered I did not drink sweet wine and always had single malt ready for me at gatherings. Cassandra, level-headed, once stood up to her family elders to protect me. Those warm moments were not fake. But now, those 6 people had willingly abandoned me for an outsider orphan. My communicator rang. It was Serafina. I answered. Through the receiver came the sound of crashing waves and Lauren's faint coughing. Reinhardt, sorry for calling you. Serafina's voice sounded tired and full of indulgence. Loren is in a bad state right now. After losing his job, he can't sleep at all. He's on the verge of a breakdown. We can't stop worrying about him. About the birthday banquet, we really can't make it. You'll have to handle things yourself. I listened quietly and did not reply right away. Leona cut in, her tone matter-of-fact. It's just one banquet. The Valenti's family has every resource. Without us 6, it won't fall apart. Loren needs us right now. A life is more important than a party. Leona. Isolde gently interrupted, but not to defend me. Speak nicely to Reinhardt. Then she turned to me, her tone carrying a lecturing quality. Reinhardt, you've always been strong. You can handle anything. But Loren is alone and helpless. We can't abandon him. I hope you can understand our choice. Lauren's voice came through over the waves, faint, cowardly, with deliberate guilt. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have dragged the ladies into this. If I caused trouble for your birthday, I'd feel terrible inside. You should go back and keep Reinhardt company. I'll be fine here alone. This retreating but not really speech made me laugh coldly inside. He said he would step back, but he did nothing to actually persuade the 6 to return. Instead, he firmly held their sympathy. Melody's voice followed. Loren, don't say that. We can't leave you. Reinhardt, you've always been open-minded. You should understand sympathizing with the weak. Cassandra, once the most rational one, also spoke. We'll send you a few rough banquet plans remotely. That counts as our contribution. For the rest, we can help. From start to finish, not one of them asked how I felt. Not one offered a real apology for breaking their promise. In their eyes, I was born with power and could handle anything. I should accept being abandoned without complaint. The fate redemption system activated again in my mind, its sharp mechanical noise blaring wildly. Plot trigger, pre-birthday estrangement. Urgent task, acknowledge the 6 Hawthorne ladies' difficulties, reply with understanding, and proactively send supplies to the island. Reward, minor mental repair. Refusal, medium-level mental shock. The ache in my temples returned, dull pain boring deeper into my skull. I held the communicator, my voice flat and unreadable. So, all 6 of you are staying on the island and won't come back for my birthday banquet? Yes. Viola's voice dropped, final. I did not argue with them. I hung up directly. On the screen, their social media feeds, which my intelligence unit had cracked, kept refreshing. Loren was surrounded by adoration. Laughter and joy practically spilled out of the photos. The place that once belonged to me was now fully occupied by an outsider. The warmth of our youth still had some afterglow. But they had ground that warmth to dust themselves. I would not sympathize. I would not send so-called comfort. Betrayal had happened, and it would cost them. I raised my hand and sent a single instruction to the Valenti's intelligence chief: launch a full preliminary investigation into the Hawthorne family. After hanging up the call from the island, the Fate Redemption System's mechanical voice surged instantly, sharp as metal scraping glass. Host refuses to acknowledge the 6 Hawthorne women. Refuses to execute the plot task. Medium-level mental punishment activated. Dull pain exploded, spreading from my skull to my limbs. It was not physical injury, it was nerve-level torment. Every nerve quivered slightly. My back stiffened. My fingers dug into the desk edge, knuckles turning white. In my assassin career, I had faced torture, chemical interrogation, and high-pressure questioning. I had endured pain far more agonizing than this. I had long learned to separate physical sensation from will. The pain existed, but it could not sway my decisions. Send an apology message to the 6 ladies immediately. Actively accommodate Lauren's situation. Return to the original plotline. The system repeated its commands, trying to crack my will. If you give in, you can earn their favor, rewrite the tragic ending, and claim your rewards. Stubborn resistance will only bring more punishment. You cannot fight world rules. Inside, I only felt absurdity. The rewards were pathetic. In exchange, I had to throw away my dignity and accommodate people who had already hurt me. The childhood bond was real, but the betrayal was equally real. Why should I be the only one to compromise? I answered it coldly. I will not do it. Warning: continued resistance will raise punishment levels. Plot deviation will trigger unpredictable consequences. Waves of dizziness hit in turns. My vision briefly clouded with gray fog. I closed my eyes and forced my breathing steady. Decades of mental training from the Valenti's family and shadow organization now came into full use. I did not fight the pain, I simply felt it calmly, refusing to let it twist my judgment. Seeing threats fail, the system softened its tone. Host, the 6 Hawthorne women are not bad by nature. They are just soft-hearted. Loren has a tragic background and is completely alone. Their choices come only from compassion, not from a desire to hurt you. If you are generous, all conflicts can be resolved. Compassion should not come at my expense, I replied internally. In our youth, the Valenti's family had helped the Hawthorns through financial crises multiple times. I treated the 6 girls sincerely. Resources, protection, trust, I never held back. Yet at the critical moment, they abandoned me without guilt and poured all their kindness into an outsider. Sympathy is not wrong. But I would never accept my dignity being sacrificed for it. The system kept chattering. Countless task windows popped up in my consciousness, trying to invade my thoughts and slowly tame me. I knew that if I let this continue, it would gradually wear me down and steer me into the pre-written script. I started focusing my mind, just as I had done against mental interrogation in the shadow organization. I pulled my consciousness inward and searched for the interface where the system had rooted itself in my mind. Waves of pain kept hitting. Cold sweat beaded on my forehead. I gritted my teeth and endured all the backlash. I had seen too many forms of parasitism and control, drugs, schemes, people's calculations. Today it was just an external system lodged in my head. After several rounds of struggle, I abruptly severed its access to my perception. The grating mechanical noise cut off instantly. All the task windows vanished. My mind finally went quiet. The residual ache from the mental punishment still lingered in my bones. But the system could no longer issue orders or randomly apply penalties. I had done it. I had forcibly blocked the fate redemption system. After that, I let out a slow breath and straightened up again. With the shackles temporarily removed, it was now my turn to settle accounts with all who had offended me. I opened my communicator and called the Valentes family's core strategist. The line connected. A calm male voice came through. Patriarch. The Hawthorne family, I said, my tone flat, without emotion. Activate all contingency plans. Collect every business vulnerability, debt, gray transactions, supply chain weaknesses, and compile everything. Hold nothing back. A brief silence on the other end, then acknowledgement. Understood. Executing now. I ended the call. The warmth of youth ended here. Since they chose to betray that bond, they would bear the consequences. The novel's plot and the system's expectations had nothing to do with me. In Reinhardt's world, only I made the rules. Once the Valentes family's capital machine started turning, its efficiency was terrifying. I did not choose brute force, seizures, or intimidation. That was too low class and left too many openings for counterattack. True strangulation happened within the rules, draining the opponent's foundation bit by bit, so the Hawthorns could not find any fault on the surface but would watch their empire crumble. The first batch of reports arrived at my terminal 12 hours later. The Hawthorne group looked shiny on the outside, but inside it was already full of holes. In the past, they relied on continuous cooperative orders from my side to cover supply chain gaps and high debt. Valentes terminated all priority cooperation at once. Large, stable orders were withdrawn overnight. The chain reaction hit immediately. Upstream suppliers sensed the shift and tightened payment terms. No more overdue payments, only cash on delivery. Downstream partners also put pending projects on hold and reassessed risks. The Hawthorne family's cash flow was torn wide open in an instant. On the island, the 6 were still lost in their relaxed vacation, completely unaware that disaster was at their doorstep. The next day, Viola called. Her tone carried impatience, as if handling a trivial annoyance. Reinhardt, what does Valentes mean by this? Why did you cut off all our cooperation overnight? The background still had ocean waves and cheerful voices. Lauren's chatter mixed in faintly. I tapped my fingers lightly on the desk, my tone calm. Cooperation is built on mutual respect. The birthday banquet was a confirmed agreement. You chose to break it. Now face the consequences. It was just one banquet. Viola raised her voice, full of disbelief. You're dragging business grudges into this? After all these years of friendship with the Hawthorns, it means nothing to you? Friendship goes both ways. I replied flatly. I don't maintain it alone. The phone was handed over to Isolde. Her tone carried a lecturing edge. Reinhardt, you're in a high position. You shouldn't be so petty. Loren is still here. Are you trying to force us to rush back and abandon an emotionally fragile orphan? That is your choice. Not my concern. Melody took the call. Her voice softened, trying to play the emotional card. We grew up together. Have you forgotten all those memories? If you're upset, we can talk properly when we get back. Don't take it out on the family business. I gave you a chance to talk, I said. Before the banquet, I waited for an apology. Instead, I got you on an island with an outsider, having fun, and blocking me from your posts. Cassandra, always rational, now lost her composure. Her tone turned threatening. Reinhardt, are you really pushing the Hawthorns to the brink? If the Hawthorns fall, it might not be good for Valentes either. Whether it hurts my interests is not for you to judge. Leona shouted from the side. In the end, you're just jealous. Jealous that Loren gets our attention. On the other end, Loren let out a few low sighs and whispered weakly. Ladies, don't let me cause this much trouble between you and Reinhardt. If the Hawthorn group suffers because of me, I'll feel awful. I might as well leave the island alone. I had heard this retreating act before. He said he would leave, but he made no real move to go. Instead, he turned all the girls' anger toward me. Serafina took the phone last. Her voice was cold and hard. Reinhardt, we will not compromise. Loren cannot handle stress right now. You'd better think this through. With that, she hung up. They still did not grasp the severity. They were still convinced I was just throwing a tantrum and would soften in a few days. I read the real-time financial briefs from intelligence. The Hawthorn Group's stock had been dropping consecutively. Banks started reviewing their credit lines. Many small and medium shareholders were quietly selling their stakes. Internal fights had broken out within the family. Executives blamed each other. Morale collapsed. I did not stop there. I issued a second directive. I released leads on several past great transactions of the Hawthorn Group to compliance departments and regulatory agencies. No need to fabricate evidence, just push existing facts into the open. Regulatory reviews kicked in. Some of the Hawthorn Group's operations were suspended immediately. Their funds were completely locked down. In just a few days, the once prestigious Hawthorn family was one step away from bankruptcy. I stared at the flood of crisis briefs on my screen. There was no roaring satisfaction in my chest, only cold calm. They had burned through our entire childhood bond themselves. Now it was reality's turn to teach them a lesson. Their island joy was about to end. Once news of the crumbling Hawthorn Group reached the island, their vacation dream shattered hard. I got intelligence that cracks had already formed among them. Their former harmony was gone. Arguments broke out across the ocean. Some blamed others for offending me over Loren. Some still stubbornly insisted I was just being petty and vengeful. But even at that point, they still gave most of their pity to Loren. They were still using their remaining connections to find him a new job. They had not truly hit rock bottom yet. So they still could not see reality clearly. I did not plan to just watch the Hawthorn family slowly dissolve financially. Money could ruin their wealth, but it could not tear apart the sweet illusion they had woven around Loren together. I wanted everyone to face the rawest side of human nature. I ordered shadow organization operatives to set up a trap. No bloody abduction. Just a shell of a fabricated debt dispute. The intelligence department had already confirmed that Loren had secretly run up a large private debt. He pretended to be pure and pitiful, but in private he squandered the money the 6 women gave him and borrowed everywhere. The night their private jet returned from the island, As soon as Loren left the Hawthorne mansion alone, my men, disguised as debt collectors, took him away. A closed, ordinary warehouse. No torture. Just two choices placed in front of him. I also had the 6 women notified. If they wanted to save Loren, all of them must come. Viola, Serafina, Isolde, Leona, Melody, and Cassandra arrived outside the warehouse. All their faces were pale. The family bankruptcy crisis hung over their heads. On top of that, Loren had been taken. Panic was written across every face. The warehouse door swung open. I stood back in the shadows. I did not plan to appear myself. I wanted them to see with their own eyes what the man they had protected so fiercely would do under pressure. Loren was placed in the center of the room, panicked and trembling. His usual gentle, weak facade was gone. The fake debt collector spoke, voice cold. "You don't have the money. The Hawthorne Group can't spare a single cent of cash right now. 2 options. First, Loren stays, we take him as payment. Second, one of you 6 stays to replace him. The other 5 walk away free. You have 10 minutes to decide." The room erupted instantly. Leona screamed first. "No way! We can't leave any of us behind! Loren, think of something!" Loren shook violently. His eyes darted across the 6 women who had once doted on him. His voice quivered. "Ladies, I don't want to be taken. I'm scared." Melody's eyes reddened. She still tried to plead for him. "Can you give us a few more days? We'll sell jewelry and property to raise the money." "No extension," the fake collector cut in. 10 minutes. Time's up and we act." Isolde's face was pale with anger. She turned to the others, her tone accusatory. "We were the ones who insisted on going to the island. We're the ones who completely offended Reinhardt. Now we're in this mess. Are we really supposed to sacrifice one of us to protect him?" Serafina bit her lip. She had defended Loren the most, but now her gaze started to waver. "But he's pitiful," she said. "We can't just let him get taken. We're the pitiful ones." Viola lost control, her voice sharp. "Our family is collapsing. We have nothing left. Why should we throw ourselves away to cover his debts?" Cassandra had stayed calm, but now her fingers trembled. She stared at Loren. "Loren, don't you have anything to say?" Seconds ticked by. The tension was about to snap. Through the one-way glass, I watched everything in silence. Loren saw the 6 women arguing among themselves. None were willing to step up and sacrifice themselves. His survival instinct completely crushed his fake kindness. He lunged forward and pointed straight at Melody, the one who had been most accommodating to him. "Let Melody stay." The words hit the room like a bomb. Absolute silence fell. Melody froze in place, staring at him in disbelief. All color drained from her face. Just moments ago, these women had been fighting to protect him. They had broken their promise to me for him, risking the entire Hawthorne family's future for a hollow pity. But when real danger hit, he did not hesitate to throw her under the bus. The silence shattered into chaos. "What did you say?" Melody's voice cracked. She could not believe her ears. "Loren, we treated you well. Food, clothes, everything, we accommodated you. How could you say that?" A flash of guilt crossed Loren's eyes. But his will to survive overrode everything. He stepped back half a pace, avoiding Melody's gaze. "I don't have a choice," he said, voice shaking but resolute. "The debt is mine. I don't want to be ruined. Melody, your family was well off. Even if you stay, it's better than me with nothing." Those words cut through their self-deception like a dull blade. Leona exploded first. She lunged forward, pointing at Loren, breathing hard. We 6 took turns protecting you, afraid you'd be wronged, afraid others would look down on you. And now, when danger comes, you sell one of us without a second thought? What's the use of saying that now? Viola's face was ashen. Her usual composure was gone. She looked at the others. Our family is already ruined. We can't even save ourselves. Are we really going to ruin one of us for him? Seraphina's lips trembled. She had been the softest, always speaking up for Loren. Now her eyes slowly cooled. I was the one who kept urging everyone to sympathize with his situation. She gave a bitter laugh, full of self-mockery. Turns out it was all just wishful thinking. Isolde's chest heaved. Days of pent-up frustration burst out. The island trip was a stupid decision we all made together. For a selfish man like that, we pushed Reinhardt completely to the other side and dragged the Hawthorns into the abyss. The long-buried conflicts among the sisters now spilled out completely. Some blamed Viola for suggesting the island trip first. Others blamed Isolde for always lecturing and letting things get worse. Cassandra tried to hold things together, but in despair, their sisterhood shattered like thin ice. Enough. Stop blaming each other. Cassandra's voice was sharp. She turned back to Loren. Think with your conscience. Have we ever mistreated you? Loren was backed into a corner. His gentle, weak mask had completely peeled off. What remained underneath was greed and cold selfishness. I never asked you to do all this for me. He raised his voice, desperate. You threw yourselves at me out of pity. You were the ones who offended Reinhardt. Now that things went bad, why is it all my fault? Behind the one-way glass, I watched the entire farce in silence. I never wanted simple physical harm. Money could only destroy their wealth. Only desperation could drag out everyone's hidden selfishness, self-deception, and stubbornness into the open. The fake debt collector broke up the argument. Time's up. Since you can't reach a decision, the offer is void. With that, the side door opened. Several black-clad operatives walked in slowly. Lauren's face went completely white. He finally realized the whole negotiation was never a negotiation. It was a test. He scrambled to grab Seraphina's arm for protection. She shoved him off with disgust. Don't touch me. Seraphina's voice was ice-cold. The 6 women watched the scene unfold. They finally understood. The man they had so carefully protected was nothing but a polished lie. Youthful bonds had been wasted. Kindness had been trampled. In that warehouse, accusations, breakdowns, and sobs mixed together. The 6 sisters, once so close, were now split by a rift too deep to close. I pressed the communicator and ordered my people on standby to submit all audio and video recordings from the warehouse to the Hawthorne board and regulators simultaneously. The mask was torn off. Now came the real end for the Hawthorne family. The moment the warehouse recordings reached the Hawthorne Group board, the last pillar holding up the family collapsed. Internal shareholders saw the full extent of the 6 women's blind favoritism toward Loren, their complete disregard for the family's safety. Panic spread instantly. Regulatory reports were published simultaneously. The past violations that had been covered up by Valenti's cooperation were exposed. Banks froze the Hawthorne Group's remaining accounts outright. Debt liquidation procedures officially began. A great house fell, in a single day. The Hawthorne mansion descended into chaos. The once proud estate now held nothing but arguments, finger-pointing, and internal attacks. The elders, exhausted and heartbroken, blamed most of the family's ruin on the 6 daughters. Among the sisters, after that warehouse ordeal, there was no warmth left. Melody, completely broken after being betrayed by Loren, stopped holding back. She publicly revealed that Viola had been the one to propose skipping my birthday banquet and flying to the island for Loren. You booked the private jet. You blocked Reinhardt on social media. Melody's voice was cold, her eyes full of shattered hatred. Now that the family is ruined, don't try to wash your hands of it. Viola, hit where it hurt, snapped back immediately. It wasn't just me, Viola said, pale and shrill. You all agreed to it at the time. Serafina, you kept pleading for Loren. Isolde, you told everyone not to make a big deal of it. Leona, you posted group photos bragging. Cassandra, you saw clearly, but you chose to let it happen. One sentence dragged the other 5 down with her. Serafina's face flushed and paled. She had always prided herself on kindness, now reality had slapped her hard. I thought it was just a short break, she stammered. Who knew it would go this far? How was I supposed to know Loren was so selfish underneath? Didn't know? Isolde laughed bitterly. You just refused to see. All of us, we were blind to our own fantasy of a poor, pitiful boy. Loren was brought back to the mansion. Without the 6 women's support and money, he could no longer keep up his gentle, humble act. He knew the Hawthorns had nothing left to offer. So he tore off the mask completely and accused the 6 women of dragging him into disaster. You were the ones who chose to be kind to me. Loren stood in the middle of the living room, without shame. If you hadn't gone out of your way to offend Reinhardt for me, I'd still be living comfortably. Now the family's gone, and you blame me? Those words ignited everyone's pent-up fury. The orphan who had been sheltered for so long turned around and bit them back. The once close sisters exposed each other's selfish motives and past mistakes. Old grievances mixed with new hatred. Blood ties crumbled against bankruptcy and despair. Some accused others of vanity. Some blamed others for blind soft-heartedness. Every argument tore apart the facade of their past harmony. The Hawthorne elders could not mediate. Debt collectors knocked at the door. Assets were seized and sold off one by one, mansions, jewelry, shares, all liquidated. Past glory turned to ash in an instant. The conflict kept fermenting. Resentment deepened. Without external pressure, the betrayers destroyed each other. Some fought over scraps of remaining personal property. Some submitted documents to the police to shift blame, reporting the grey dealings that involved their sisters and Loren. Loren, desperate to save himself, also threw evidence against those who once protected him. The cycle of hatred closed completely. They no longer needed my hand to hurt them. Desperation drove them to tear each other apart. The once proud 6 daughters of Hawthorne, and the orphan they had adored, were consumed by the very poison they had planted themselves. I sat in the Valenti's study and flipped through the incident reports my men sent over. My heart did not stir. I never planned to kill anyone directly. I just pulled back the curtain and dropped them into the mud they had made themselves. Every outcome was the inevitable result of their own choices. Hawthorne, once a dominant power in the capital, had completely collapsed. No chance of recovery. The reckoning was not fully over yet. I could faintly sense that the fate redemption system, which I had forcibly blocked, was still twitching weakly in the depths of my consciousness. It refused to accept the complete derailment of the plot. It was still trying to break through the mental barrier I had built. It wanted to drag everything back to the original tragic script. After the Hawthorne family's fall, the capital's business landscape underwent a violent reshuffle. Hawthorne's market share, distribution channels, and remaining assets were split and auctioned off through compliance procedures. Most fell into the Valenti's family's hands. Everyone outside assumed this power struggle was over. Only I knew that the fate redemption system lurking in my consciousness had not fully died. I had only blocked its output, I had not destroyed it. The plot rules from that novel world still churned in the dark. It refused to accept that the story had completely collapsed. It kept trying to break through my mental defenses and forcibly steer people and events back to the original script. Faint, intermittent noise began to slip through the cracks of my mind. No more clear mechanical broadcasts, only fragmented whispers. It tried to stir up old memories of my youth with the 6 Hawthorne women. It dangled expired task rewards as bait. It hinted that I could still turn things around, reverse the Hawthorne family's ending, save the 6 women, and restore the original timeline. Host, plot deviation is severe. If you restart the mission, you can reverse the Hawthorne ending, save the 6 women, and return to the original world line. The fragmented thoughts kept seeping into my consciousness. It knew how to play on emotions. It knew I still had a trace of genuine warmth from those early years. It wanted to use that faint softness to crack my defense. I sat in the Valenti's family's highest meeting hall, having just finished a senior branch meeting. Industry reports were spread across the table. The shadow organization's loyalty documents sat neatly stacked in one corner. Most of the capital's power structure was under my control. I was not shaken by those temptations. Warmth is warmth. But it cannot offset the damage done by betrayal. The Hawthorns had fallen to where they were through their own repeated choices. I did not have to pay for it. I did not have to sacrifice my principles to rewrite it. I applied all my experience from countering mental interrogations, combined with the shadow organization's consciousness analysis technology. I had my technical experts use external devices to trace the system's residual signal backward, following that faint resonance to locate its source node rooted in my mind. Waves of dizziness hit again and again, the system's final counterattack. It released a flood of fake illusions, the island's laughter, the banquets of our youth, flashing before my eyes, trying to confuse my perception. I held my focus tight, and did not indulge those fake images. Those good times had already been torn apart by them. No matter how realistic, the illusions were still lies woven by the system. The trace took several hours. Finally, I locked onto the core node where the system had taken root in my mind. I gathered all my mental strength and struck hard at that source node. A nearly inaudible cracking sound echoed inside my head. All the tempting noise vanished instantly, no more echoes. The fate redemption system, that parasitic presence trying to control my life, had been completely countered and destroyed. The novel world's plot shackles fell away entirely. Subsequent intelligence briefings kept coming. The 6 Hawthorne women and Loren had all fallen in their endless mutual destruction after the family collapsed. I did not kill them. Greed, resentment, and self-deception had ended them themselves. That was their own ending, not the system's scripted one. From that point on, all who had offended me got their due fate. There was no more predetermined destiny. No heroines to save. No tasks forcing me to bow and compromise. The Valenti's family's foundation grew more stable. The shadow organization answered fully to me. Within the capital, no force could coerce my will anymore. I stood at the peak of power. The obstacles before me had been cleared. The road ahead was mine to right. Past entanglements were turned over. I would not wallow in revenge. Nor would I waste pity on those who betrayed me. What I fought for was never about destroying others, it was about taking full control of my own life.